Call to order the public hearing on the expenditure of funds from the facilities trust fund, the equipment trust fund for the different proposed projects. The first is the use of money from the facilities expendable trust for the replacement of door and access card readers for all the school buildings. That looks like total of $85.50. That is going to be for the facilities trust funds. The next is the use of monies from the facilities trust fund for replacement of the elementary school multi-purpose room doors, and it's just these ones right here.
That finishes off that project.
And that's a safety upgrade. Part of let's say fortification of the entryway that we started a couple years ago. And I don't see that quote.
So there's a few pieces to that. And Mark went over it with the facilities committee, but the original proposal, this is on something. There's
One more.
It's a multi-page proposal, but this. So there's the base doors, 8,550.
They're both 85.50, both projects.
85.50 for the doors, plus another 340, because he wanted to upgrade it to the level 3. And then there's no shipping on there, so we're estimating probably another 1,000 in shipping, so and up to, say, $11,000 for that project, depending on the shipping. But it's 85.50 for the base doors.
Yeah.
340 to upgrade to the level 3 ballistics, and then shipping.
To answer your question though, yes.
Yeah, it's just, I was confused.
Oh.
They're both 85.
Same project.
They're two different projects, came in at the same price, so it's just confusing.
It's just the way they set it up.
Yeah. Okay, so up to 11.
Oh, let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see that. Oh, no, okay, that is good.
See, I don't have the doors on.
Yeah,
Oh, I see it here.
It's, yeah.
that's the base
Okay.
for the next page.
The back,
Yeah.
yeah, there's
Talk about
the
the-
340,
Yeah.
okay.
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
And then
okay.
They
and then
didn't
shipping.
pick one sheet, yeah.
That's funny that they're both the
I
same.
know.
Okay,
Okay, so up to 11,000 for that. Is the 85.50 on the access system? That's
That is it.
it. Okay. And then the last one is placement of the evaporator and condenser for the walk-in freezer that goes
with new refrigeration lines.
Yes.
with new refrigerators. That one's $13,892, and that's all in.
Yes.
This
So-
all coming out of facilities.
No, one's
What we said equipment.
equipment is the walk-in stuff.
Gotcha.
Right now, it looks like we have 22,000 in equipment.
Mhm.
It says plus 10, is that what we?
Okay, so I added in the number, the amounts that will be going in.
For the- at the end of the
Yeah,
year.
yeah, so another 10 will be going in there,
Okay.
and then like 100 should be going into facilities.
Is that the 10 was? That's coming like next year?
Soon as I finish the year. end
Oh,
report.
so this is like the,
This is what we
leftover,
voted on in the
okay.
spring.
got
Well,
that.
the leftover
Yeah,
from that,
yeah,
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
32, so we'll have 250. Do we have any other things in the works that we expect to be spending? some money on?
Technology, there'll be money that we're gonna be discussing, for the clear touch boards that we had originally put in the budget.
Mhm.
That's the only thing I see right now coming up.
Okay.
And the doors were installed? I don't see.
We're gonna install the doors. We just need the doors to install, so this cost is just for the doors.
Oh,
They're gonna
Our-
set it up, so we just have to hook it into our grid. Those doors here,
Just that easy.
I guess.
Hopefully, it always is. Yeah, just go in.
Well, Joe,
I had that same question, but no, yes, that's what they're doing.
And will those also be doors that you'll have to scan a card to get into, correct?
No, so those doors you won't be able to get in,
Only
From-
out,
they're only out.
okay.
You won't be able to get in from. The
because those kind of go in.
That's, right,
But you'll
right,
be able to just crash,
Only out,
crash
okay.
out.
Perfect.
Crash cars.
Crash cars, you know, crash cars.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're wild tonight.
Is there any thoughts on any of that? I don't see any public here to make any comments, so I guess I will. We need a vote on that, right?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Individually,
yes,
Okay.
because each one has a different amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
Accept the motion to approve the expenditure from $8,550 from the Facilities Expendable Trust Fund for the replacement of the door access codes and reader or card readers
so moved.
for all those. Thank you, Joe. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, and that motion carries. Next up, accept the motion for the use of monies from the Facilities Expendable Trust Fund for the replacement of the elementary school multipurpose room doors. And that is going to be up to $11,000.
So moved.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Joe. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, and that motion carries. Last, let's get the motion for the use of monies from the Equipment Expendable Trust Fund for the installation of a new evaporator and condenser for the walk-in freezer, totaling $13,892.
So moved.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Joe. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Uh, Any nays or abstentions? And that motion carries.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you. And on that, we will, the motion to adjourn the public hearing.
So moved.
Thank you, Tammy. Second. Joe, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the hearing is adjourned, and we will call to order the public here, the regularly scheduled school board meeting. First up is the strategic plan for 2F. Good evening.
Good evening, how are you?
Fantastic.
My name is Katie Wilson. I am a senior director with Two Revolutions, and we have been really excited and honored to partner with you in the process of building the next strategic plan for the Lincoln Woodstock Cooperative School District. This is Kate McClinton, one of our colleagues. She came up from Florida today or last night in order to be here with us. We've spent the day talking with staff members about the plan, getting their insights into what's exciting to them in the draft, what questions they had, what wonders they had. And our this afternoon or evening, I guess it is now, we're here just to kind of share with you what we have accomplished so far. I want to frame this I want you to think of this as like first reading of policy. So it's an opportunity to engage with the plan, to gather some thoughts, know that we're taking all of the feedback. So we've taken the feedback from the sessions we did this morning, and then we will have an online survey that people will be able to provide additional feedback through for anyone who wasn't able to be part of our work today or has ideas beyond. And then that was open to all of you as well. We'll take all of that feedback, share it with Mary, share it with the community planning group, and make iterations on the plan as appropriate, and then hopefully be able to present a final version to you on October 22nd. So, and really our work has been to think about how do we help set direction for what are you going to be for your priorities over the next 3 years. So we're going to do is quickly talk to you today about kind of the process that we use, what's in that plan, and then hopefully have you engage in a bit of a conversation about what you see. So just so you know, so I actually come to you from North Conway, so I just came over the K. Been doing that, I joined 2Rev about 2 years ago now, and prior to that, I spent 30 years in public education, everything from elementary teacher to building principal to an assistant superintendent. And then Kate has a background in middle school, from Chicago to Atlanta, and now she's in Florida. And then we also had another colleague who's been working with us who's unable to be here this evening. So as we're talking to you today, we're just gonna ask you to think about these norms in that conversation, thinking about really, we know that there's a lot going on. You've got the rest of your meeting, and I'm sure you have kids that are going back to school, and you're thinking about sports, and you're thinking about 8,000 other things. So just, you know, as much as you can to be present, as much as you're able to engage in the conversation would be really helpful. This feedback is an absolutely critical part of the plan development. As much as you have something to respond to in writing, the word draft that is plastered all over it is there for a reason. It is a draft. and it is the initial thinking. So how did we get there? And this is really about knowing where you want to go. So we have started this process in wanting to create that roadmap to help inform decisions. And it's informing decisions at the classroom level. So as teachers are thinking about how they're planning, how they're assessing, how they're gathering information about their learners, it informs information at the school level. So as the building principal sits there and says, hey, what do we need to do? How are we going to make this happen? It guides that. It will guide the superintendent in making decisions, and hopefully it'll guide you as a board in being able to say, like, how are we going to allocate our resources? How are we going to set priorities? How are we going to make decisions about the next steps that we need to take here in Lincoln and Woodstock? So we started back in December, January with listening. And this process has to start by listening. It's about listening to your community. And we ran different sessions where we engaged and we asked lots of questions about what do you want for outcomes for students? Because at the end of the day, this plan is about realizing the outcomes that are important for this community for your students. And we asked people about what that looks like. We did 15 individual interviews with staff members. We had design studios, which were like hour-long sessions with community members. I believe this, you as a school board, did a design studio. We had them with teachers, we did them with administrators, and we gathered all of that information together. And then we also sent out a survey for anyone else who was not able to participate. And that gave us over 100 different voices and information from that many different people to inform what went into your plan. And then from there, we pulled together a group of community members. Actually, Jasmine was part from the board on this and worked with us in the development of the plan. The community planning group worked as a collaborative unit in order to make sense of the data, determine the areas of plan focus, establish priorities, establish success metrics, and really think about what are the actions that need to happen. It was made up of a wide range of individuals, from school-based staff to administrators to teachers to community members to people who didn't even have kids in the school. So it was really representative of your communities. And I will tell you, and I've said this a few times today, they were one of the most efficient, well-organized, active, and like, let's get this done groups I've ever had the pleasure of working with. They were great. And we really focused on what does the data say and what's possible? How do we dream big about what the outcomes are that we want for the students here in Lin-Wood? So we started with that question. What do we want students to know and be able to do? We asked ourselves, what could get in the way of them actually being able to achieve these outcomes? Then we started to say, what are the best possible ideas for getting at those outcomes? What would success look like? How will we know if we've gotten there? And then we had to prioritize. We had to think about, we have all these great ideas, and if everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. So what are we going to focus on first? And then we took all of that to create a draft document. And that draft document, I believe, was shared with you. You should have copies of that, right? Okay, good. And we are at that stage right now of gathering feedback. And your voices as board members are very important in this feedback process. And then we will gather that feedback, share it back with you, and hopefully have something that you feel really confident about when we come back in October. So, in your plan. So one of the things that came out of your NEASC review was the need to create a portrait of a graduate, portrait of a learner for your students. And this is really the articulation of those outcomes that your community has identified as critical. So with that work, the image that is to your right has been created. There was a lot of thought that went into how that was put together. As many of you probably know, depending on who you talk to or what document you look at, your district has a different name. Could be Lin-Wood, could be Lincoln Woodstock Cooperative Schools, it could be the Lincoln Woodstock School Public Schools. So it's got a lot of different names. So the decision was made to focus on the LW as kind of that unifying piece. And then the image of the lumberjack is important in this community. And they wanted to make sure that what was there's also lots of different lumberjack pictures around here. So there's one on the floor. I've noticed there's a different one on the signs. There's some different iterations
Speak
of
my
that.
language here. Oh.
So, the decision was made to try to recognize the historical piece of the lumberjack and represent it with the red and black plaid, but to create an image that was clean and easy and not going to, that's not our right lumberjack. No, this isn't the right one. I mean, we had talked about, do we include a mountain, but then which mountain would we pick? Because there are lots of different mountains that are important in this community. So that's where we've landed. The 5 elements that are within it are the outcomes, which I'll show you in just a second, of being critical thinkers, global citizens, effective communicators, independent learners, and responsible collaborators. And those outcomes came from basically 3 chunks of data. The first chunk of data was what's currently the 21st century learning expectations for the Lin-Wood public schools. The second set of data was that empathy data that I talked about before, those over 100 voices. When we asked people, what do you want for your children? What do you want for your learners? We took that information, and then we did something really revolutionary. We talked to kids, and we talked to the kids about what's important to you. What do you want as a result of your experiences here in Lin-Wood? And we took that information from all 3 data sets, synthesized it together, and that's how we landed on those 5 elements. Not that everything else isn't important, but those were kind of the 5 ideas that resonated across all of those pieces that people felt were really most important for those learners. And that became the grounding for the plan. So that the whole idea is your strategic plan is all about making sure students, when they walk across that stage at graduation, have those skills. So no matter what they do, they are able to succeed in life. That they are ready to go out, whether they go to college, whether they go to the military, whether they go straight into career, whether they take a gap year, whatever it happens to be, that they have the skills that they need to go out into the world. So we took all that and we said, we want you to dream big, community planning group. We want you to think of as many different ideas as you possibly can that would get at those outcomes. And they did. They came up with lots and lots and lots of ideas. I think at one point we had someone who saying, I think we should send every child on a European trip to go explore. I mean, like, people were having lots of big ideas, which was great because that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to remove the barriers and just think like what could be possible. And they came up with ideas that really focused around experiential learning. They started having conversations about, well, if we're going to do all these great things for our kids, what does that mean for our teachers? What are they going to have to do? What skills are they going to need? And then, oh, how do we make sure that if we want our teachers to do this, that we've created those systems and structures in our schools that allow it to happen? So kind of thinking on those 3 different levels. And thinking on those 3 levels, they landed on 40 suggestions. 40 is a lot of things to put in a strategic plan. But they went through and they prioritized. And as a result of that process, they looked at factors such as cost. They looked at factors such as like how much time and how much effort would this take? What kind of policy implications are there? Are there local policy implications? Are there state? Are there federal? What's the potential impact? How many kids are we going to have an impact with this action step? Is it a few kids? Is it all kids? Where is that? What is that going to do? And through that process, we took those 40 ideas and they were able to distill it down to 4 goals with a total of 10 action steps in the current draft. I've never seen a community planning group go from that many ideas that efficiently. And I think we did it in like 2 hours. Like it was like they got to work and went through it. So it happened to be a beautiful June day too. And I think it was like one of the first days it didn't rain in June. So that might have been a factor that helped them get going, but so I haven't talked this much since I was assistant superintendent. So those goals, though, are written in 3 areas. So the first area is about growing students. And the goal that they have come up with is about building confidence and independence and that readiness for life. And doing that through the engagement in really interest-driven, rigorous learning experiences. In terms of teachers, it's about supporting them and developing those experiences within their instruction and their assessment practices, so that those experiences are super meaningful. And then from a systems perspective, a big conversation came around schedules. Like, how do we organize time in our school day, in our school year, to maximize the impact for students? How do we make sure that kids have opportunities to learn inside school and also beyond the school walls? How do we make sure we have a shared definition of what success looks like? What are those indicators that are important and valued in this community? And that we have that real strong collaboration between the school and the community. I'm almost done, I promise. You know, and I think within, you've had a chance to look through the plan, but within the strategies around students, a real big focus is on making sure they develop those competencies within the profile of the learner, and doing that through project-based learning, through STEM, through interdisciplinary experiences. The students are understanding the connections between what they're learning in math class and social studies. Why do I need to know math and social studies together? Well, if you want to look at a statistic around why something happens, like those two pieces come together a lot, and helping kids to see those connections and make those connections in meaningful ways, and really thinking about flexible and individualized pathways. Your size is such a huge asset, and while it can be difficult, it also, I mean, if you've got 14 kids in a graduating class, like think about what you can really do for those kids. It's so exciting. You know, and how do we make sure that each of those kids graduates knowing like, hey, you know what, I'm really interested in this, I'm really good at that. And you know what, here's my next step, so that they walk out of here with a sense of hope and that they have possibility for their future. In terms of teachers, the areas that are focused are really around a strong professional development structure, so that, hey, you know what, we're going to implement PBL, not go do it tomorrow and figure it out, but like, how are we going to support you in making sure that you have the skills, the time, the resources that you need in order to be successful in doing that? That you really look at your system of assessment and making sure that we have lots of different types of ways to measure and communicate student learning. And then to also make sure that teachers have an understanding of, hey, you know what, if we need to make sure we have global citizens who can communicate, think critically, what does that mean for me as a Spanish teacher? What does that mean for me as a math teacher? Like, how does that, it's not, you're not gonna have an extra class that's portrait of a learner, go deal with these competencies over here, and then, you know, keep doing English, math, and science the way you always have. Like, how do we intentionally integrate those pieces into those practices? And then the systems. Looking at the systems, looking at school schedules. What are the different ways that you could potentially be innovative in how you use and organize time here in Lincoln Woodstock schools? How do we make sure that there's enough time for those traditional standardized measures, which are valuable and have value, and the interdisciplinary and more innovative approaches that are out there? How do we make sure that the resources you have available are allocated in a way that is in alignment with achieving the goals? And how do we make sure that we're communicating effectively within and beyond the school? And then finally, really, how do we building those partnerships, and being clear about what it is to be successful. So that is 9 months worth of work in like 15 minutes. So I guess, you know, my questions for you, and Kate's gonna take as many notes as possible and hope, and, you know, for discussion, you know, thinking about like, what is exciting to you about this plan? Are there any gaps that you're seeing? Do you have questions? What are the implications for you as a board? And also, like, what are you thinking about in terms of like, how do you want to hold accountable for achieving these goals? What kind of progress monitoring do you want? Is it something you want a monthly report? Is it something that you want an official report twice a year? It's like, what kinds of strategies do you want used to communicate progress and continue to make progress towards achieving those goals? So, Mr. Chair, I will let you run your board discussion the way you would like to run your board discussion.
I don't know if anyone had any comments or questions at this point.
I'll have a comment, I guess.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see the focus on systems, like obviously the growth of students and growth in educators. I don't see like those are given, but I just like made those assumptions that those would be part of a goal or be assigned to the goal, but growth in systems was something that I hadn't anticipated. And your comments about like managing time, I think there's a comment in here about like how finite time is and the organization of it and how critical it is. It's really, given the complexity of how small we are as a school and how, I say, multifaceted our faculty is. Can imagine that would be a very difficult thing to track and monitor and show like real progress for improvement. And I struggle with the idea of like, how do you say, yeah, we did much better on organizing our time? Aside from, I'll say some, maybe it's teacher feedback at the end of the school or end of the school year, I don't know, just.
In thinking about that, you know, my sort of thought was, we will see the success in the growth of the learners and the growth of the teachers only if we are able to properly manage the time. So I think it's going to be an indicator of whether or not we're improving our systems is going to be how well we do in the other sort of measurable goals that are like, you know, some of the ones that actually have some benchmarks that we're shooting for. Because we do have limited staff, and there's limited hours in the day, so. You know, it seems like if we're gonna have interdisciplinary learning and project-based learning and all these teachers doing it, you know, co-teaching and all this stuff, there's gonna have to be changes to how we're doing things to accommodate all of that. And so if we don't, I guess if we're not doing well in the systems aspect of it, we're not gonna make any progress in the other areas. It's kind of like a necessary under layer there, which is kind of more logistical than anything, and that's the challenge, you know, because we have often when we have a teacher leave or something, or we can't fill a position, we do a lot of shifting things around already. In terms of I think the question that you had sort of started the conversation with was, what are the benchmarks? How are we gonna evaluate how well things are going? Is it, you know, I know that there's a list of success indicators for each of the goals. And so, you know, obviously, those are the things that we're sort of targeting, and those seem relatively easily measurable. I wonder what the utility is of measuring it too often. You know, if we're saying, oh, we want a monthly update, that seems like too much. You know, it would be committing a substantial amount of resources and data gathering, you know, for that. And yeah, I'm maybe twice a year seems more appropriate to me, you know, at the end of the first half of the year, and so the end of the year. And so how are we doing in those areas? But
I've seen boards do it from asking for updates on a monthly basis, from wanting principals to include efforts in their newsletters to formal reports to the board once or twice a year. I mean, I've seen the gamut of all of that, and it really is what works for your community and what you think is most valuable.
I think the community, and I know that I appreciate the updates that we do get in the newsletters and stuff like that about what's going on in the school. And certainly, like, you know, if there's any exciting project-based stuff that's going on, you know, I think everyone likes to hear about that. So, but in terms of, you know, like an official report to the board or sort of an update to the board, maybe others have different ideas, but it doesn't seem, I mean, twice a year seems sufficient. I think though, in terms of implementing a lot of this stuff, there's some big changes, or at least some, you know, we'd be implementing a bunch of new requirements. Are we anticipating, you know, making an ELO or CTE thing as a graduation requirement? Are we anticipating, you know, having like a requirement of like a senior project where, you know, you have you have the students pick the interest-based project that they want to do, and it's a year-long thing that kind of cuts across all of our disciplines in terms of you know, targeting what we're the interdisciplinary aspect of it. So there's some, I guess, some, things to be worked out in terms of what are the expectations for this sort of stuff?
One thing I didn't say, which I should have said, you'll notice that there's no timing in there yet. That was intentional, so you would not start everything that is on this plan tomorrow or October 23rd. It'll be important to think about what happens first, what happens second, what happens third. We wanted to wait until we kind of landed on the final stuff to see if there was something that people wanted to, you missed this whole thing, we want you to add this whole thing in, or we want you to take this whole part out, before we did that and made those final decisions, because there's a lot of like dependencies. So that was an important, so know that it will not all happen on year one.
And then I guess one of the other things that I had a question about was, what do we gonna consider an interdisciplinary project-based unit? And I know that, for example, Ms. Pamplin brings in tadpoles, I think it's tadpoles every year. And they write about them, they draw about them, they observe them, they do a lot of work around these sort of things. And that seems to be like an example of one for the elementary school. Obviously we would think that those things would be sort of getting a little bit more complex and involved with student involvement as they get older, but I thinking back to David Webster's presentation, a project like that could potentially span years, where we have, students working on it and then new crop of students coming in and, following up with the work that's already been done. Things like that. There's not a lot of information in here about what a project-based unit is expected to look like, but maybe we're not supposed to be getting that specific in this, but it seems like.
I think we're gonna have to get specific, so the teachers know what that expectation is. Some of this, maybe I should go back, because I wasn't part of the conversation, when we go back to the system, and is our schedule set up that we can do these bigger, long projects? Does it mean academics are first thing in the morning, afternoon, all experiential, going out, doing ELOs? Like, that was one of the conversations about the system. Do we have to drastically change it that way at some point to be able to get where we need to be? When we spoke about some of the interdisciplinary projects, some of the conversation we had, and I think Heather had suggested this years ago, that offering more of a humanities class, so social studies and English together, so you're having that co-teaching, and so there is some relevancy there. If we had, like the project you saw with Mr. Webster, does it make sense to then have some marketing and some English and those type of writings to be able to market who is your audience? So I think taking one small area and growing it makes the most sense. And that's part of the reason that we have Megan Gould doing some of that STEM project base, so that at least at the elementary school, it's not this heavy lift for the teachers. She's really working with them to create some of this. And these are just kind of some targets initially. My initial thought was, if we're starting this October, by the time we really get into it and understand it, it's January. That's not gonna happen, like 2 of them, unless they're already happening.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so some of that stuff, but really articulating what does a project-based learning look like? There's really key standards that's already outlined in PBL world, what that looks like. So making sure the teachers understand what that looks, and it is a checklist to make sure it has. So I think that we could say, based on the research, that we're using a clear rubric and standards for that, but teachers will need some training on that. And remember, PBL is one of those things that first time you do it, you're not knocking it out of the park. You just keep building on that, but you do have the standards and the experience. And there's a lot of excitement around it. And would it be great eventually to have K-12 PBL, everyone involved in it together? Yeah, it'd be really great. You can build that big with that.
And the nice thing about PBL is you've got your academic content standards, but then there's also a focus on those elements that are within that profile, portrait of a learner, that are also embedded so that you're saying, yes, I'm teaching this math standard and this English standard. And at the same time, I'm focusing on making sure that students are thinking critically. And all of those elements happen and they're framed within kind of a big overarching question that is engaging to students and has no one right answer, so to speak. So that they're going through these cycles of learning and gathering some information, doing something with it, reflecting on it, and doing that multiple times before they then pull together and create for some type of an authentic audience to share their learning.
One of the experiences that some of the teachers saw when they went to a different school system that was a little bit smaller than ours, but has the same complexity, that twice a week, during their social studies and science, the K-5 groups work on one project, all of them together. So it could be setting a schedule up like that. But that's where the system piece is gonna be important, so they can.
And I think it was you and maybe a few teachers went out to a school, maybe in the Midwest last year.
Yeah.
That had sort of a heavy project-based learning curriculum. You know, and I'm just looking at like the 4 project-based units a year, is that what we're looking for for sort of smaller units as opposed to maybe 1 or 2 bigger units? Is there some flexibility in that, or is that like?
I think
is
we
it
can
what we're
change.
looking for?
I think we're looking for people to get their feet wet and let's
Yeah.
get and do it. And then I think as there's more experience, then you're gonna build project based. But I think if you use the perfect example of Diana's class of a project based learning around the tadpoles and things like that. But that's really small, doable, it's interdisciplinary. They're already co-teaching in that classroom together. So they're already hitting some of these marks. Not all of the teachers are doing that, but they have been moving towards that in the last couple of years. So we're seeing a lot more of that right now. But I would think that you could count each teacher doing it, not necessarily for. So you could have a teacher have 1 project and 4 teachers working on it, and that would count as theirs. So it wouldn't be each teacher doing 4 separate ones, but they're working together.
But the idea would be this, each student would have the experience in 4 different units.
Yeah.
And what do we have for a plan in place for training for teachers, that want to get more, to feel more comfortable with these things?
So-
Like, is there?
What we started for this year is we have Megan Poole at the elementary school, K-5, you're aware of that. And the middle school, they have an additional period, it's block 1, where they're trying some unique things like STEM. Megan supporting 2 teachers working on STEM projects this year with that group. We hired Sean Woods to come in the afternoon, so that would be an interdisciplinary supporting those kids there. At the high school, we're not there yet, but there's some conversation around some of the humanities talk. We spoke about that when we were looking at the schedule this year. When we spoke to Mr. Webster, how does he move his STEM programs to include other disciplines in that? So it's not there yet at the high school, but I feel like the elementary is getting more traction and they're starting some at the middle, but we're not there at the high school yet. There would need to be, we probably need to scaffold it, or we'd probably need to say, elementary's doing this year, middle this, and high school's getting training and more collaboration. But we did start some of the opening days, so that conversation we had meetings this year, which we haven't had in the past, where they're called collaboration meetings. Let's meet with each other, talk about some of those things you may want to do. And we had some department meetings, so that some of these exciting things that we're starting to do, the teachers are able to, start to have those conversations. But we're going to have those type meetings like we did when we did the STEM. We had every other week, every 2 weeks, we had 30-minute meetings where we discuss what does this look like K-12. So we're going to have to do those type things with the staff to get them on board. And we spoke to Megan about really, because her job is K-12, really getting, trained and being proficient, kind of our guru on project-based learning, so we can train others, but I think the elementary school is probably more poised in the middle than the high school right now.
Looking at the portrait of a learner. When I first saw it, I was like, well, of course you want all those five years, right? Like, but then as we've been discussing and digesting a bit, I kind of see how it fits our situation, right? It fits our location, and I kept thinking about like, what is Manchester's portrait of a learner, you know, like, and how is that different? And I could start to see some how we're unique here. So I think what you've got here, these five are strong. I guess my push is that this has to be very present, like very visible, and dare I say, you know, at the entrance of every door and sitting above every screen. It's like, these are the expectations, and these are the five things that, you know, we expect of our faculty and our students, and are you meeting all of those things? And it just can't be buried in a document.
It has to go into our curriculum, our syllabus, it has to go into our grading, like you said, it has to be visible. Some of the work that is required through NEAS too, so they did take the NEAS document, and to make sure that when we're working, we have one kind of evaluation plan, and we're working on things, but we're hitting multiple of things, but you're right. And when you look at that hyperlink document, attached to the portrait of the learner, the language all has changed. So you really should, it's very student focused, friendly. It's not in a negative, you will do this. I think, so there was a significant amount of work that went into wordsmithing that to make sure.
And there'll be more work, and that's part of the plan, is really articulating it. So what does it look like for a second grader to be a global citizen? It looks different than it does for a senior in high school. And that's actually okay. That's a good thing. And as you build these, I mean, I will say with the teachers today, they incredibly positive about this image and that graphic, like saying, I mean, you were there.
We were very positive.
I mean, they really were. They're like, this makes sense. Can we replace the 21st century learning stuff tomorrow? Like they were ready to be like, this makes sense. And, as you move forward and thinking about these goals, it has to be everywhere, but it's more than something that hangs on a wall. It has to be embedded in practice. And honestly, at some point, not tomorrow and not by this June, you're going to want to think about, how do we give feedback to students around these skills? How are students embedding these in when they demonstrate their learning? How are we communicating back to our community about how our students are doing on this? Because if you do not measure and communicate progress towards these, they will not have currency in your community. It'll be like, yeah, that's a nice picture. Where's my report card? And I'm not saying get rid of report cards. I'm not saying get rid of anything like that. I'm not saying get rid of testing. But if you don't report on this too, it will not have value.
I was thinking about those postgraduate surveys.
Mhm.
You feel like you're effective communicator.
Yeah.
Like grading your skill.
There's lots of ways to gather data and that you can use. And it's just a matter of figuring out the system that you want to use to do that.
And I kind of do like the idea that, when we're designing the curriculum for some of these interdisciplinary projects, we can say, okay, well, we're checking a box for the science, and we're checking a box for the writing, and we're checking a box for, the sort of traditional academic goals, but also, we're also integrating working and collaborating. We're integrating, independent learning, we're integrating communicating and critical thinking and actually specifically building that into the curriculum of the project, and how we're going to hit those goals with these different units. So I think it's kind of exciting that if we're building a whole, not so new way, but we're implementing a new way of teaching, that we have an opportunity to sort of build all these things into it that we want to see.
And I will say, when you do work around a graduate profile or a portrait of a learner or those pieces, you're gonna see a lot of commonality in the outcomes that people want for students from state to state or within the state. And yet they're like, what's most important is very community specific. But when you start to look at research right now around what employers are saying they need from students, like, these are the kinds of things they're looking for. And, you know, we're seeing kids come out of schools and employers are saying, they don't know how to work on their own. They don't know how to communicate, like, and those are the types of skills, like they might, you know, I was talking to a community college head the other day and he told a story about, he was working as a finance director at a college. And he was told by a bank president that no, the bank was not gonna hire any of his students. Not because they didn't know their accounting, but because they couldn't actually have a conversation. And he's like, those skills are just as important as the academic content. So it's really finding ways to make sure that that's embedded in their experiences as learners. So what we will do, our goal is to gather feedback, which we have been doing all day. Kate has been writing down your conversation. If you have any other thoughts, we have a survey. Mary, are you able to email that to them too? Great. So I will put it up in a second. But if you have individual thoughts, if you have feedback, if you leave here tonight and you know, you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, I wish I had thought of this, or want to have this question, please give that to us. This plan is stronger the more voices there are that inform it, and the more feedback that we have, the better we can iterate to make sure it is super reflective of your community here. And then we will take all of that. We will organize it, we will synthesize it, we will figure out what is to be, what of the feedback needs to be changes to the plan, what in the feedback is communication with teachers, what in the feedback, like there's different things you do with the feedback based on what it is. Is it comment that's made once, that's one person's worry, or is it something that is across a number of people? So we'll go through, look at all of that, and then you will see me again on October 22nd with a prettier version of that plan, and it will have the finalized content, and hopefully you'll be like, all in favor, say aye. Do you have any questions for me before we let you have the rest of your meeting?
I would just add that they had us do an activity today that, well, I'm not gonna talk about the hat building, although I was really good at it.
You were at building.
Ally Furby was my partner, like, we crushed it, it was not. I might wear it on the first day of school. But no, they had us using present day language, but speaking like it was 2028. And we were already like several steps into what our, what we would see if we were being successful. And it was really hard to talk in present day about these things that were like, you know. So what was it called? Like,
We called it Back
Back
to
to the Future. So then we had to do that for 4 minutes, and then we had to go as if it's 2028, but talk about like what it was like in 2025 using past tense. And then we had like make the gap. Like, how do we get from here to there? And although orally the language piece was hard, it helped us think in a positive way about those opportunities that are really just like fingertips away, you know, but it's all those building blocks that we have to put in order to get there. So I thought that was a really effective activity to do on the second day of like PD, like, you know, where your brains are all over the place. Here I am, I'm like, I'm gonna talk in present tense in 2028 about doing an interdisciplinary project, but it was good, it's good, so thank you.
I think just one last thing, that you felt that, or you shared with me that there were more likes and support for the work than there were saying, this isn't something we want to do. The hesitation was just a little around if there was some like, okay, how are we going to get there with these few training pieces? So, and that's all, you know, strategy, right? And stuff that we can do.
Absolutely. We were able today to kind of synthesize the initial feedback that we got, and the list of things that people listed that they liked far outnumbered the things that they wished were there or the things that they wondered. And the wonders and the wishes were like, oh my God, how are we going to do this? Oh my God, how do I, like, what's gonna happen if we don't, like, if we don't get both units done? Like, it was more that kind of a worry than it had, there was not a single, like, this is a bad idea.
Hmm.
So that was the prevailing, the piece of it. It was really just like, how are we gonna get there? And it's like, you'll get there.
And building that together
Yeah.
and then having their wonders and stuff allows us to say, okay, what are the steps we have to put in here to say, this is what we're doing.
That was funny too, like, it took me a second to realize, like, the wonder, it's like what you didn't like about it. Like, I wonder, that's the positive way of saying, I don't think this is a good idea.
But you know, you need to
No,
go through it's important to stay positive because, you know, at the end of the day, it's about the kids and, you know, we want to make sure that what we're doing is addressing any concerns and at the same time, continuing to push forward, be innovative and do the absolute best you possibly can for your learners here.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. It was
Thank
wonderful
you.
to be here. Appreciate your time. And Mary will send you a survey, so if you have additional feedback,
Yeah, and you'll resend that to me.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
we will do that.
It's me on the top of my email.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, exciting stuff. Next up is the
Yeah.
approval of the minutes, from July 23rd. Anyone have any comments?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from July 23rd as presented.
Thank you, Joe. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, that motion carries. And then next up is approval of the minutes from August 13th. That was the special session for the policy. Personal communication device policy.
I'll make the motion to accept the August 13 meeting minutes as presented.
Thank you, Tammy. Is there any discussion? Joe, second. Thank you, Joe. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those
Thank you,
opposed?
Sharon.
And abstentions, and Kevin abstained. All right, we have the North Country Education News Services, I think is the only correspondence that we got, that I got. Just steady, received any additional, communication correspondence?
No, but I think we did receive, something last month and we didn't report on it. It was the intent to bargain with the care union. You received that.
And not that I recall.
Oh,
It usually comes to my email and I did not see that. So
Okay,
I'll double check. but-
maybe they have your email wrong, but I went back through my emails and we were both, but it could be you have the wrong, they could have bounced back or something.
I'm gonna check right now, just because that's. When did you say it was done? The last one I have is from 7/25/24.
June 20th, it looks like.
Yeah, definitely. Doesn't look like I got that. Let me look in, sometimes, at school board stuff gets sent to my personal email too, so.
I think this one was sent to, unless they, the name looks like it's spelled right.
Yeah, the only email I have about intent to bargain is from last year. It's-
We did receive that.
Okay.
You received it. I was CC'd, so, we just probably need to schedule some meetings this fall for the care union.
Okay.
Yep.
We knew that was coming.
Yes.
That's fine.
I think it was just a lot and they got missed.
Deb, business administrator's report.
Yeah, a few things, facilities update, but I think facilities committee would do a little bit more, but I'm just always amazed, since June 16th, the facilities crew has been busy tearing things apart and putting them back together again. And in approximately 10 weeks, Mark and his crew have cleared the buildings, groomed the grounds, did annual maintenance and repair work, and put a new shine in the campus in preparation for the return of the school year. Yeah, so they did all their regular annual maintenance, painting, cleaning, deep cleaning the classrooms, the gym floor, ceiling tile replacements, the list just goes on and on. Outside grounds were, as you know, we did this was the 8th year, the school-wide flooring replacement project, went on this summer. We had some roof repairs to fix some leaks that had sprung up, and the facilities committee will talk a little bit about that. As usual, something breaks, and this year it was the walk-in freezer, so we addressed that. And, just when you walk through the buildings, just even little things like some improvements they did in one of the bathrooms down the high school, the teacher's bathroom, and then little things in the teacher's room up here, just a lot of little touches going on. We do have a few more things going on, as we just voted on the new door access card system will go in. We still have some fencing replacement and repair work that Mark is actually doing. We tried finding some fencing companies, but he's actually doing that work. Again, it's always just amazing to see in 2.5 months or less what they do. So well done to the facilities committee, facilities crew this summer. You asked about trust funds. We will need another trust fund coming up for the technology, a public hearing coming up for the technology trust fund. During the budget process, there was a request for more clear touch panels, and Trey just gave me a quote the other day, so I said I would bring it to the school board, and we'll probably do it at our next meeting. Put that on the agenda. Right now, we're looking at purchasing three more clear touch panels. It's about a little over $13,000. The original budget was for 7, and we had pulled those out and said when the time came to purchase, we would look at the trust funds.
You said the original was for 7 panels?
Yeah, so
7,000.
7 units.
7 units.
Like
So
about 31,000 was the original, but right now I think he might just be doing a little bit at a time as teachers get trained. And so just looking at strategically where we're putting those. We met with Fresh Picks Cafe and our new food service director, Darlene. And we usually meet with them at the beginning of each year to discuss our meal times, our breakfast after the bell program, menus, any equipment and maintenance needs, things like that. So, we even talked about how can we incorporate the hydroponic garden and some of the vegetables that are coming out of that. And they said they have worked with other schools, so we're going to work on that a little bit more this year. So that's exciting. We also met with Durham, our transportation services. Again, we do that each summer just to make sure we're ready to roll, and we're ready to roll. We did have an issue come up, and it's a great issue, that we have an increase in students going to the CTE programs in Littleton and Whitefield, which necessitates a bigger bus, which necessitates a driver with a CDL license. So they provide all those services, but it's like one step at a time. Again, it's a great problem to have, but when you look at other schools and sometimes sending kids to the CTE centers, because that's how New Hampshire does it, there's centers all over the state. One of the prohibiting factors is transportation. How do you get these kids to these programs? So we're lucky that we have Durham, and they've been able to come up with a solution for that, because we want these kids in those programs.
Real quick, one of the things we are evaluated on as a school district is if we're giving those options and kids participating in them. It's one of the
Yes, we have
measures.
16 kids going to the different programs.
Nice.
So
Last year, or maybe it was this year, we did get some state monies to pay for some of this.
Yeah, I know, and that was
Do we
last year, but
participate?
what I'm gonna bring to you will be. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna do it again. But yes, that was a huge chunk of money that came at the end of last year as a surprise, so it kind of was, we hadn't factored in those revenues, but that will factor into our retained fund balance. So,
Okay,
but
so
anyway,
we could
we
potentially,
could see an increase in we might see a slight increase in our transportation, because again, our contract didn't call for this size bus. And anyway, he said we might, but we're just trying to juggle things around. I mean, if it's a slight increase, but yeah, right now, doesn't look like the state has that money, but maybe we.
we didn't know about it last time either. So
No, we didn't know about it, but they were sitting on that supposedly for 2
it's
years.
not counted on it, but.
Yeah,
And that program is just for high school?
Yeah, the,
What's the percentage?
The vocational?
16 students out of,
It's more than a
20?
graduating class.
I was gonna say, that's 25%?
and a lot of them, it looked like it was the allied
Allied
health,
health, which is leads into nursing. and
nursing or
things like that.
Fantastic.
yeah.
Where does that take place? Is that in Littleton? Nice,
And that's all I have for now.
thank you. Dr. Steady.
I just wanted to give you an update because a lot of stuff coming up policy that there were 86 bills passed this year that impact public schools. This is record breaking, so we've been spending a lot of time being pseudo lawyers. Learning all about how this impacts that, the staff, we have some staff training on coming up on stuff that they need to know immediately. Holding those after school, and we did some problem solving this week around a few of them, but just so you're aware that there's a lot impacting this thing. We looked at the literacy data that we pulled. We measure the kids 3 times a year through NEWA. We'll be adding a cadence data, but this is what fed into that system that I showed you guys last year. And you liked how you could see the kids' movement a little bit more, called branching lines. So I pulled from last September, the beginning of the school year, to the end of, just put July 1, to see, are we providing the core education around literacy that we need to be providing so kids can make growth. And the good news is we're making growth. I really want to point out, as a district wide, we're making growth. There was a huge growth at the elementary school. And we went back to some of the models that were in place when you guys were a blue ribbon school. I mean, you guys had all that success, and some of those best practices got dropped along the way, and we've been putting some of that. We've been putting co-teaching in place, so there's a couple of teachers in the classroom at all times, so we can really break those groups down. As you know, when I was in my other role, I started looking at some of the literacy and doing an evaluation on our system, and there were some recommendations that came out of there. So that group is still meeting, and we decided that we would have one uniform approach to teaching literacy, especially those foundational skills. And you can see that that approach is paying off. And we'll continue that work. We have, as you know, a grant to really push our teachers to all be trained in something called letters, which is how do I teach the science of reading, and why am I teaching what I am, and how do I get the most out of my day with the students. So I just really wanted you to see that we're starting off the year in a really solid place. You saw the strategic plan. They're coming back at the October meeting. We will have to have that second meeting in October, the 22nd. They can't make it for the 8th, so that'll just be around the strategic plan. And I think that we're back and busy, and I don't know, Heather, I think it's been a pretty good, smooth opening days and some
Yeah, it's
feedback.
been great.
Yeah.
It's been a good balance of collaborative discussions with colleagues and time in our classrooms, which is always appreciated, especially when one gets a new floor
Yes.
and all of one's books have been packed up and stored away, and I feel like a new teacher. I'm like, oh, look, put that on the shelf.
I think one of the approaches that we did differently this year, and we'll continue, and we're gonna dive a little deep. We have something called team leaders who sign up to really try to inform how the district operates. And we had, the administrators had their retreat. We developed the opening day schedule, and then we had a 3-hour retreat with just the team leaders to go over that. And, you know, things that we think are necessary, important, aren't necessarily with teachers, so they can be that disconnect. So we were able to rework that schedule. So there was that balance of all the things we have to get done, required by law, and allowing the teachers to collaborate. So it will continue that. I asked them if they would like to do that mid-year too. a reflection of how the first part of the year and what they need differently moving forward, and they really wanna meet and, you know, a half-day retreat. Discussing how that they can, really inform how we're operating, so, and I think I've heard really good things about that, it's been a good balance this year. So, thanking the team leaders for their time and informing us.
Thank you. Mrs. Devala.
Yeah, thank you.
Bill? Oh, yes, sorry. We're having a screening tomorrow night here for the community. Hopeville, which is really around how the science of reading does work and all the research and how it's turned some schools around. So it's really the approach that we're using, which was probably some of the approach you guys used about 15 years ago. Making sure that that is here, but please come and there will be out here. At it,
We have one volunteer,
okay,
so,
so, you know, or we'll have pizza, nice,
yeah.
popcorn, candy. Bring them, it's gonna be boring for them, they can play off the side.
Yeah, the one volunteer was a student, you know, we were looking for student volunteers. But a lot of people are busy with, now that sports have started and work, and, so, yeah.
And this will be
Sorry.
played tomorrow for our staff, so they understand what we're doing at elementary and how it impacts them at high school. There we go, I'm done now,
Thank you.
promise.
All right, now, Mr.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, just, you know, as you know, Heather says, thank you, Heather, about the smooth start to the year, you know, we just finished up with our day 2 of, welcome back to staff, and things seem to be going smoothly. And, having some great conversations about, you know, the new year, and everybody seems, I can't say everybody, but it seems like excitement is in the air. And probably a little anxiety too, as we, you know, start, you know, getting back into something you haven't done for a while, right? Build up your stamina and your voice and, but other than that, yeah, it's been good. I sent out a message today reminding parents about our communication device, our personal communication device policy. And yeah, okay.
What's been the feedback?
I haven't had any
Okay.
so far. I
That is
sent
good.
it out as an email, and then I did an all call today, just in case, you know, sometimes parents don't all have an email address, so I try to get it back out there. Yeah, well, I'm sure it'll come. I'm sure it'll come.
You were lucky, the freshmen in orientation today did not give you the feedback when you came out that they gave me.
Oh,
So
okay.
I did get some feedback.
Okay, good.
But it was good that they could, I felt like it was good they could talk it all out before the first day of school,
Uh-huh.
so.
Yeah, cause I did go out today. We had our freshman orientation and kind of give them a little brief about, it's really not debatable, guys.
Well, it's funny just what
Yeah.
they qualify as a personal electronic device, like they are just beside themselves.
Yeah.
Like that is gonna be the thing
Yeah.
with those younger kids.
How are they gonna use those? if their
Well,
phone
there's
is
so
off?
many,
Right.
so many
There's so
potential.
many ways, oh, yeah. I'm hearing the same
They're
thing.
gonna start to create.
Yeah.
I want a kid to try to bring back like a cassette, like a Walkman.
Walkman.
Cause they were like,
Yeah, man.
there were those things that they used like a couple years ago, I think they were called iPods. Laughing.
iPod. I think they were called iPods, yeah.
I think they recall.
That's a time.
I do too. Mine too.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah, too funny. I've heard a lot of positive feedback from from parents and such. That I've spoken to, that this is great, it's about time, they need to do something. And then the same from the kids going, come on, you know. It's gonna be a hard curve for them to.
Yeah.
Well, we
Yeah.
expect some bumps in the way.
Yeah, we all do.
And there were a bunch of them were the other
Yeah.
night sitting around saying, well, you know, there's ways we could do this. They're trying to figure it out already.
Yeah, so we're glad that they're gonna be creative.
Yeah.
You're creative.
Like, oh, no, we're already on to bring the second phone thing. And then like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so, and then I also sent out, our attendance policy. Make sure that everybody, received that. And then just a reminder today, as said about Hopeville. So tomorrow, right, as Mary said, teachers will watch it during the day and then we'll have a community evening. Yeah, we reached out to a lot of students, but unfortunately, they're just still busy trying to wrap up the summer and.
Right.
And athletics has started, so that's also gets into their time, because a lot of them have evening practices. So. But yeah, other than that, I think we're looking good. Megan's very excited about STEM, as I said, she finished up with Kristen Fadden over the summer of our STEM camp, and that went really well. And we're gonna try to continue to build that STEM camp now that we're gonna have STEM, during the year at
Nice.
the, focusing K-5. And try to build that camp up a little bit more, rigor, as we move forward. But yeah, other than that, I think we're looking pretty good. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We had, facilities committee had a walkthrough tonight. You guys wanna give an update or you wanna wait till the next meeting?
Yeah, Deb pretty much covered most of it anyways, but a couple of things that she missed because she did it. Did for the elementary school windows, there's a grant that Deb was put in for,
Well, we're working on it.
working on it.
It's due in September, it's
Yeah.
the Department of Energy.
So hopefully we can get some money to do the windows up here. If not, some of them, but Mark had hoped to do them all in one shot. We did the walkthrough down below and my God, the difference in that flooring. The library down at the high school with the carpet, the band room with the carpet, I mean, and it's bright. It just brightens everything up and I forgot what wing they call you.
The math wing,
The
it was
math
math
wing.
wing.
The math.
That makes sense.
I call this, it used to be Mr. Baker's wing, so
Still call it that too.
but with the new white flooring in there, everything is just so bright and clean and the hallways are clean and it just, they did a really good job. Walk-in freezer, that part is done. Mark is redoing some of the fencing here ourselves because once again, our fencing company decided that they didn't want to come in. That we're gonna use. So he's replacing that as he can, along with a few other things on the path out here. I guess we rented a small excavator and started doing the work on the outdoor classroom and cleaned up some of the stumpage and all the stuff out there to make that look good. I haven't been out there to see it myself yet, but evidently that has gotten cleaned up. Middle high school gym, the elementary is done. They're putting in brand new emergency lights because the ones that are in there, when they do go on, I don't think the light reaches the ground in there. So they're upgrading all the emergency lights in there and putting new cages on it. That should be done this week, I think he said. Parking lot striping is behind, but it should be done within the next 2 weeks. So it may be done on a weekend after, but we'll see. We already did the trust fund, the budget, the flooring. Next phase is up here. They're gonna divide it up into sections and we'll get prices and stuff on that. We don't need anything from the board on that. And then the windows. One thing that I've got to talk to Mark about when we're spending all this money on the lawns. And hopefully next year, maybe we can get a schedule to do the watering of the lawns before it gets to this point, while we have water. Because right now, I went to the town and asked the town, we're on voluntary, but they won't allow us to use the cannons right now. But it would be nice to get on the schedule during the summer to actually, they used to allow us to do it in the mornings when the reservoirs were really full. They would let us use it in the mornings for 20 minutes. So if we can get on a schedule to do that, it would really benefit instead of, I mean, think of that, what is it, $13,000 we spend to treat the lawns, but we don't water it. And they burnt up a little bit this year. So, I mean, that's it. Other than that, I have to say that the school's looking really good. Did a really good job.
I think-
Oh, the roof,
The railing.
sorry, the roof.
The railroad.
Well, oh, no, I just said the stuff out there on the walkway that we're gonna do, but we're gonna take that railing out right now going up the hill because it's a little bit dangerous. We're just gonna take it out and is it Ingles that was gonna replace it? Yeah, we have a welder coming in. He's gonna put in a steel railing up there, a permanent railing coming down the hill for now.
What is the, at some point that's gonna be realigned with to come down the other end by the
Possibly.
crosswalk?
Possible.
Oh, possibly, so that's not a definite.
Yeah,
okay.
because of the new handicap requirements and everything, we might not be able to get back far enough to
To
bring
do a
the right.
switchback?
Yeah.
Well, can't you do a switchback?
Efficiently, probably not, but we'll see. We are looking into it, but
Yeah,
we may bring it down a different way.
so does it make sense to spend that kind of money on a railing?
That's it, this one
Right,
ain't gonna cost up. It ain't gonna be that.
Oh, okay.
Won't be that much.
It's $1,600.
Yeah,
And
No,
we,
that isn't much.
and we need a,
I was just looking, we did 3 figures of
No,
stuff,
it's.
community center, that's
it's
why.
just the railing. Yeah.
we need a railing because it's basic.
We definitely need a railing, but I mean, I was thinking it was gonna be way more than that, that's all.
No.
I mean, that was,
And it was 1626.
little railing at my house cost more than that, so, yeah.
and
He's
the-
doing a great favor to the town, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
or to the school, sorry.
And the high school roof leaks. It turns out that the lap joints and all the new roofing that they put in actually broke down prematurely, so that they were all basically crap.
Hmm.
So they honored our warranty and they came in and replaced every lap joint on that roof, and
Fantastic,
so evidently we're all set now. It's
Good.
all been redone already.
good,
Prematurely, it's been a couple of years.
Yeah, this last three
Well, no, that-
phases, basically the last 3 phases, which
Yeah.
have been over the last, I don't know how many years.
right.
Six,
Yeah,
seven,
that-
seven.
That stuff should last 25, 30
Yeah.
years, so it.
It's nice that they came and honored the warranty
Yeah.
and just took care of it, yeah.
So,
And that was what the leaks were, this pet was from that, so, great,
one of the other ones was a curb stop, but that's been fixed.
minor, yeah.
That's it for me, man.
Thanks, Joe.
Good news.
Policy committee. We
Oh, yeah.
have, bunch of stuff for first reading. And we have a bunch of stuff for second.
Mm-hmm.
You want to brief us on that?
Sure. Some of the first reading policies coming to you tonight are things that we looked at, to go into we had to get done. So,
Nope, that'll be next time.
oh, that'll be next time. Oh, that's what we looked at
These
tonight.
first readings are from our policy. We've been meeting, policy's been meeting
We've
for
met every day.
because we had so many policies come in from
Right.
the New Hampshire School Board Association. So were actually policies that we had reviewed. at our
Already in, okay.
July
So we're sending some into
23rd
first.
Meeting.
So that's not what this is.
Yeah, but there'll be
Okay.
more on first reading that we went over today.
Yes, tons. Tons. And then that'll be it, though. That's at the end of the spring update. So then we
Yes,
jump right into fall
summer, we
update
will get
now.
a fall update.
Yeah.
Spring and summer will be
86
done.
new
one.
So honestly, I have no idea. My brain is wrapped around the ones we went over tonight.
I have them here. I don't
Okay.
think there was anything that stood out, like anything.
That this file.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I remember these. There was nothing. I remember these now. There was a couple of things we changed in these, a couple of words, nothing major. And most of the changes were all New Hampshire School Board Association recommendations. I don't think there was anything,
IIP, we changed it to, make sure that PE fit into an exception,
yep.
but there weren't.
And we put, there was one IHBI where we put a, $5,000 limit, we would need special, school board permission over that.
Did we have? Did we have any limit before, or was the? Or was the, it's like we were deciding what that limit was gonna look like?
Yeah, it hasn't cost us, I've written a few since I've been here and there's been no cost associated with
Right.
them. But because of all the changes in open enrollment, EFAs and alternative learning plans becoming more robust, they're recommending putting, for budgeting purposes, if someone does do an alternative learning plan, that you put a budget associated, and we thought that 5,000 was probably a safe cap, and anything more than that, then we have a more robust, but,
And we
haven't-
figured too, that if it becomes the norm and it's consistently over 5,000, then we just change the limit, but it was a good place to start. The other one that, now I'm looking at them, IIB. It was, class size to student educator ratios.
Mhm.
They had in that maximum class sizes would be limited to 25 students, 20, 30, whatever it was. Our old policy said we'll strive to achieve a class size. I was concerned with saying is limited to. Because then if we had 26 students in kindergarten, we'd have to have, I mean, we're very lucky that our class sizes are very small anyway. And we have, the co-teaching model in the elementary right now, which is proving a success. However, I was afraid to put, or hesitant, I should say, to put is limited to, and instead requested will strive to achieve a class size of.
The copy that I got does say strive to achieve.
And I had asked that it be changed, it does strive to achieve,
The
yes,
district will strive to
came
achieve
to
a
us
maximum
saying-
class size of 20.
but it came to us saying is limited to.
Oh, so this was the change that you were making.
Yes, this is the change that we recommended, yeah. We also added, oh, it's in there, never mind, okay. Just these down here, the exceptions on the bottom didn't have PE, library, media, anything like that, so we added those.
One of the
Notes.
things the district will need to pay attention to is that the size of the classrooms can actually hold very many. Like,
Right,
you
right,
can't
right,
have it
right.
anyways.
Right.
Classrooms is not gonna have.
And I hope we
Which
never
is
get to the
nice.
point where we
It's-
have to have
Right, exactly.
25 students in one classroom, however. If there was ever a.
Is Mrs. Pool's STEM program something that we want to add into that class size exemption?
It's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because if they're gonna be in the labs and stuff, you may want, because it could be multiple grades coming together.
We should add that STEM programming or something to that effect.
It's a good catch.
I don't see anything else that we really changed. Did you guys pick up on anything? Yeah.
I was looking at these, see. It's that typo. Effective date. There's one, the stated immediate resignation, should be once the stated. Date of immediate resignation.
Mhm.
Once,
See.
once, yeah,
Yeah.
once the stated. Good catch. Did anyone have anything else on those?
The generative AI policy. Is this was this basically just this is all new, right?
Yes.
So it looks like it's got a bunch of statutory references on there. Was this one of the 85, 86 bills that we were dealing with? Is this something that was required, or is this a school board association?
This is
recommendation?
school board association recommendation. I think it's what they're pulling together. The other, like the FERPA and the COPA, and all of those type policies on student privacy and this AI. The AI that we use in the school, is, we do use some generative AI, we use Gemini. It's part of the Google suite, which is pretty secure, so when you put something into Gemini, you can pull information from the world web and all that information to you, but it doesn't take from our databases at all and send it out. So it's a lot more, it's a secure one. We're not using the ChatGPT and things like that because the security, it's an open AI. There may be times where there might be reason, like if you're doing coding or something, but that's gonna be very secured, very clear what it's for. But a lot of those coding programs we can get that aren't so open source, there are ones, so if you're coding like our friend Daniel did for his project, we did a workaround of that, so it wasn't impacting our security or things. But those will all be approved ahead of time, so we know what the kids are using. And the staff are using. I'm sure it's highly involved.
Yeah, complicated.
Mm. No, sir.
I think so.
I'll make a motion to move all of these, first policy reading, policies to second policy reading.
I'll second.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Jasmine. Any further discussion on the first policy reading? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Oh,
I agree.
okay,
I'll also motion to move
that motion carries.
the BVA-R for withdrawal to second reading. Which was in there as well, but it was on the last vote. So
You're doing what?
moving this one to second reading as well.
Oh, do we need to do that when we're withdrawing a policy?
It needs to go into second, doesn't it? We don't withdraw it, so these are,
Yeah, but I don't know if we need to.
Just follows.
it just follows. Okay, never mind then.
We'll add it to that list of, oh no, because we're withdrawing these policies tonight.
Right.
All right, so then
This. These.
policies for second reading.
Yeah, I didn't have anything further to add on these.
I was looking at DB, the annual budget. A third paragraph. The board expects superintendent to work closely with the principals and other administrators to assess the needs of the period.
Oh, yeah.
No, mine says school, because I have, mine's the first one. Never mind.
Should that be school or district?
School, this says schools.
Yeah.
The original one,
Schools?
yeah.
Yeah.
Schools.
Yeah.
That's yours. That's the resolution. Oh, yeah, yeah. Thank you. Good catch.
Any further discussion on the second reading policies?
Make a motion to approve the second reading policies.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Jasmine. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions, and that motion carries.
And I'll make a motion to withdraw the second reading, the three at the bottom, DBI, DJG, and JICJR.
Thank you, Tammy. Second by Joe. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, and that motion carries. I think that's it for policy stuff. Well. for
The next meeting.
For whirlwind. Do we have any resignations, recommendations, nominations? No? Substitute rate.
Yeah, we're recommending that we increase our substitute rates. So last time we increased our sub rates was in 23-24, when we moved our sub rates to $100 a day. And at the time that seemed okay. there was no increase last year. Things have kind of really jumped up the last 2 years in all rates, and so we've kind of fallen behind. So working with the other North Country schools and North Country BAs, we track a lot of these things, so I just gathered data from other school districts, and the rates range anywhere from like $85 a day up to $150 a day. Now, honestly, I don't think the schools that are paying $150 a day are getting subs, even at that rate. But I do think we need to increase. And what we're looking at too, we want to make sure that our rates are, because we pay per the day, that it's above minimum wage. But we also don't want to go above what we're paying like our paras. So I'm recommending that we increase to at least $115 a day. So that would bring like that hourly rate to $16.43. Our paras are starting at $18.50 right now. I think that would be reasonable looking at the other districts, and budget wise, we did increase our sub line a little bit, knowing that we were probably going to need an increase. Again, I don't know if it's really going to help us get more subs, but it feels like we need to pay our subs more.
Do we know what our sub budget is right now, or like what we spent last year?
I can get that for you, but yeah, I'll get that for you.
It's effectively a 15% increase in in our sub budget. I'm just trying to.
Yeah,
figure out what
and
that
then we
would
put
look
in
like.
at least another 5,000 on $25,000-$30,000 sub budget.
Okay, so it's not
Yeah,
a huge increase.
What are the current vacancies for positions?
Math, position is vacant. We do have those classes covered by having, our middle school teacher teach a high school. She's already teaching a high school math, but she has an extra period in the day, so she's teaching that. And then we're using mapping the MOU to do the AP, because we have that remote option. And that's it.
I mean, all our classes are covered.
All our
So-
classes,
Math is the one.
that is math, and that's set and ready to go for the year. I don't anticipate, unless something like miraculous happens, I don't see that being filled this year. But all our pairs are filled. All the other positions. Yep. We're in good shape to start.
So. Do you need action from the board
I guess so.
official?
Yeah, I think it would be good if we, so based on our recommendation, I would recommend that we increase to $115 a day. Pay our subs.
So moved.
Thanks, Danny.
Second.
Thanks, Kevin. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, and that motion carries. No new business, no continuing business, no students. We do have Ms. Crowe.
Ms. Krill. So I alluded to freshman orientation earlier today. We had 16 kids of the 20 that I think are attending school on that
Wow.
night. We did lose a few freshmen. I think we gained one freshman. But they were great today. We had sophomores, Hazel, Briar, Nora, and Kiera, organized some team building games. They participated in a scavenger hunt to find their lockers, which you would think was not that hard. Meet their teachers, find their classrooms. And then we always do ice cream sundaes, because it's kind of a bribe, come to the school, we can make ice cream sundaes. And I also picked up some bananas, and the kids ate all of the bananas. And only 2 kids had ice cream, and I bought all this ice cream, which I don't know if it was the soccer game they were headed to, but health is doing a great job, because they all made a really good healthy choice with the bananas. So I'll reconsider maybe fruit salad next year. And they ask great questions, which I think is important, because we forget that even though they are in the same building, there is a tremendous amount of nervousness and anxiety about just coming down to the math wing. So they were great. Also, nobody had anything else to share, from staff, so I added that the Booster Club is doing a fundraiser this year, this fall at Maple Haven Campground on August 31st. And we're doing a lumberjack wood raffle. This might have been done back in the 70s, probably kids swinging axes and chainsaws. The children are not using chainsaws. But we have some adult lumberjacks, including Sean Woods and Spencer Kelly. They are bucking up the logs tonight and tomorrow. It's a new term I learned. Do y'all know what that means?
Yeah.
And I think the varsity soccer players should all know what that means, since they are helping. Soccer teams and cross-country teams are gonna load the wood into the trucks, and we're gonna deliver it to the Kank, where former lumberjacks Andrew Wilson and Brendan Ingalls have offered to do the splitting. And then the kids are going to, under Sean Wood's guidance, put it into the right amount of wood per cord.
Yeah.
We were hoping for 3 to 4 cords, but Sean reported to me tonight via text message, there's a lot of rot. But the wood is all like around our school property. So Mark Hood said it was not being allocated anywhere else, so we thought it was a good way to clean up and the kids are helping, so that's awesome. So if you would like actual cordwood harvested by real lumberjacks,
This is great.
you should check in with a soccer player.
Is it a raffle?
It's a raffle. And the
Fantastic.
raffles will be called at Maple Haven on the 31st. You don't have to be present to win your cord of
What
wood.
time?
5 to 7.
5 to 7.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And I'm tasking Wyatt Whedon with making a reel. So we're gonna like document all of the different, and I think making a lumberjack short film will be awesome.
Very cool.
I am not the person to do that though. I just know the kids. Anyway, that's all I have.
Casey, are you gonna deliver it? Thank you.
Andrea did volunteer, but local delivery only. And then we had to tell all the kids like wood can't cross state lines. And they did not understand that. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
They're like, why? I was like, bugs, like mostly because of bugs. They were funny.
That's awesome.
So
Thank you.
it's fun.
Thank you, Ms. Brill. So you said talk to a varsity soccer player if you want a ticket.
Yeah.
Okay.
They are 1 ticket for $10, 3 tickets for 20. So really, that's your better option.
Will they also be available at Maple Haven?
They will be.
Fantastic.
Andrea Calder made the tickets and the flyers, and she's really good at that stuff.
Good to know.
Yeah, so I think the graphic design stuff I was showing Mary.
Yeah,
He's awesome.
Yes. Great, great. Just saying, it's a good interdisciplinary, project-based learning project.
There you go.
Science, yeah.
Some community service.
Science.
Love it.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, cause I didn't know the math that went into what a chord. And Sean, yes,
Yeah.
Sean Wood,
I know.
like trying to educate me, and I'm like, this is, Sean, can you just help them?
That's another one of those things I never really wanted to know.
Is there soccer this weekend?
There's a jamboree
Oh, yeah.
on Saturday, soccer all day.
Here,
Here,
nice.
and the Booster Club's doing food, yes?
It's the senior class,
Senior classes, somebody's doing food,
concessions.
yes,
You say all day Saturday and Sunday?
No, just not on Sunday.
this Saturday.
Yes, sir. All right, thank you.
Here.
I don't see any community, so I think we don't have anything for non-public.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Tammy.
Second.
Thank you, Joe. All those in favor? Aye. And we are adjourned.
Thank
Thank you, everybody.